Hello everyone, this is RC053, and I'm bringing you another interesting unit review, but this time we're focusing only on commandos, or special forces. So, what are special forces? Well, they're the elite of the elite, the best of the best that country has to offer. Now, some of the times they'll be in the recon tab, but most of the time they'll be in the infantry tab. Now, I'm not going to look at all of these units, but looking at them more of in a broad sense. What to look for, how can you determine that unit's role? Because, not to say, besides popular belief, each command unit, or commando unit, is going to have its own unique role on the battlefield based on the equipment that it carries. The first one I'm going to look at is going to be the Anti-Infantry Roll. Now, this Delta Force I wouldn't say are the best at doing anti-infantry, but they're also pretty cheap at 25 points. They carry the MP5 SD. That should be your first clue that this is anti-infantry, is that it carries a submachine gun, which has a high rate of fire but lower suppression. And the machine gun is pretty standard across all special forces. That changes based on... Only 3 units don't have a machine gun, I guess I should say. And that's going to be the FJB, SAS, and Alastair 40s, which we'll get into later. But the Delta Force is the Blue 4's kind of anti-infantry role unit. It also carries a pretty crappy law, and that's the M72. So for Special Forces, this is also not the norm, because usually they'll have a much better light anti-tank weapon. Next would be the Generalist. Now, the Generalist is a Special Forces unit that can do basically anything. It can go behind the lines, you can use it on the front, and a great example of that would be the Fallschirmjäger 90. Now, the Fallschirmjäger have an excellent assault rifle. That's kind of your first clue. The assault rifles boast, kind of mediocre stats. They don't have the long range of a battle rifle, but they don't have the short range of a submachine gun. As we can see here with the G11, it has a very high rate of fire, but it also maintains great accuracy and stats due to the units having an elite training. They also carry a machine gun, which makes logical sense once again. This will obviously pin down and suppress enemy units. However, the best way to tell that this is a Generalist is looking at its light anti-tank weapon. If its light anti-tank weapon is very good and it carries, this kind of combination of weapons with a assault rifle, or maybe a battle rifle, just depends on the country, with a good light anti-tank weapon, as well as a light machine gun, but actually more of a squad automatic weapon. So if it boasts all 3 of these things, I would usually call it a Generalist, where it is able to, approach pretty much all situations decently. Now, the next role is going to be in the behind-the-lines role. Now, a good example of this would be the FJB 40. I want to look at the guys who, in Wargame, were the guys who started it all, but the SAS. The SAS are the quintessential units for behind-the-lines. Now, the best unit for behind-the-lines, in my opinion, is the Alastair 40s that the East Germans get, but the SAS are kind of Wargame classics, if you will. They've been in Wargame, I believe, from the beginning, and they're also kind of recognizable as I believe they're the oldest Special Forces group. I believe so. But the SAS means Special Air Service. It's an acronym. And so, the best way to tell that this is a kind of behind-the-lines unit is not by looking at its primary weapons, but instead looking at its anti-vehicle weaponry. The best way to tell is, does it carry a surface-to-air missile as well as a light anti-tank weapon, preferably a good light anti-tank weapon. That's the best way to tell if this is a unit meant to go behind the lines, is if it boasts both of these things. That's the SAS in a nutshell. Usually they'll have a good assault rifle with very high accuracy and stabilizer. Now, this isn't always true. I mean, they might have, but pretty much all of them just carry an assault rifle. Now, the M16 has pretty mediocre stats for being a Special Forces unit. To look at the best, behind-the-lines Special Forces unit, we can look at the Alastair 40. This is by far my favorite unit to go behind the lines with. or even just clear out towns or do anything for that matter. These guys are exceptional at that.
One, they carry a very excellent assault rifle. If we compare this to the M16, it's no contest. The STG 943 is far superior in basically every way. It has the same accuracy, stable at the same, just in a stable stance. But when on the move, these guys get more accuracy. Furthermore, this is increased with veterancy. They have the same high explosive damage, which makes sense. And I guess you couldn't really say bullets are HE platforms, but it'll do the same amount of damage, but at a much more rapid pace with its very high rate of fire. They also boast the Vampyre, which I would say is the best light anti-tank weapon in the game, and I think many would agree with me in saying that, because the RPG-29 Vampyre is, holy crap, that just blew up almost all of my tanks good. This is the same one that the VDV-90s carry, and holy crap, like I said, it's very good. Mostly because of its extremely high accuracy and its great ground range for an RPG system, or it's being a light anti-tank weapon. Most of them, I believe, will have an 875 meter range, and most of them will have like a 700 or even 525, just depending on the weapon's platform itself. It also boasts 24 armor penetration with very high suppression, so even if you hit this unit, you're pretty much guaranteed to panic it. If not, kill it with a side shot. This will kill basically most, if not all, tanks with a side shot in one shot, which makes them extremely potent and effective. They also carry the Igla. Whereas the SAS carried the Stinger, these guys carry the Igla, which has less HE power but more range, with better accuracy. So that's the behind-the-lines infantry. To look at the Soviets' dedicated anti-infantry killer, as well as China's, going back to kind of where the Delta Force were for the US, Spetsnaz is by far the best anti-infantry unit in the game. By far, it is. And it's just no contest, in all honesty, between, the Spetsnaz and the Legion 90s are both extremely potent and effective at killing off enemy infantry. Just bear that in mind always, because if you don't, you're going to lose a lot of good men, more than just a few. However, the best way to counter something like the best way to tell these guys, that what sets them really apart is that they have a napalm launcher. The best way then to destroy these guys, or to counter them, is extremely simple. The most dangerous, lethal unit in the game, the M113A3. I'm not even kidding. It's cheap 5-point transports, like the M113, are pretty good at countering Legions and Spetsnaz, because while the napalm launchers will stun them, they'll be able to pump out consistent damage with the M2 Browning, and if you have something a bit more armored, like say a Martyr 1, or even a cheap tank, anything like that, these guys will pretty much be vulnerable against. So that's just kind of taking a look over the Iron Curtain, if you will. Next, there are, I guess you could say, the Marines. I kind of hesitate to put this on there, but these are the 15-man squads of elite units. Doesn't mean that they don't have as good weapons, but they're pretty expensive, because but then again, they're expensive as all of these anyways are expensive as normal special forces groups. But the difference between these guys is that they come in squads of 15, which is significant because it means that they will survive a lot longer. So looking at, say, the Commando Marines and the Commandosi, both of these are Marines sort of units. Now the Commandosi, I would say, are less all-round than some of the other, shall we say, Marines in the game. I'd say the Commandosi are, maybe you could class these as more of Red 4 Anti-Infantry Roll because of the excellent AK-74U that they carry, and the RPK I don't personally, because they're still a 15-man group, but they're excellent at killing infantry. And once again, you can tell that that's really their best role, because they only have 15 armor penetration on their law. But looking at, say, the Kustjäger, You know, you can see that they have an assault rifle. They also carry an AT-4 variant, but with 25 armor penetration and very high suppression damage. And they also have a squad automatic weapon. So that's basically kind of what Marines are. Now the Corps Mariniers really started to take the field as the Netherlands has grown in popularity. They've become extremely potent in Wargame now that we've started to see them in action. The AT-4 is very devastating in forests and in towns. The C7 is very deadly to infantry with its high rate of fire as well as its very high accuracy. And the Mini-Me is pretty standard for most Special Forces units in Wargame. Or basically just any unit with a squad automatic weapon in general on Blue 4/NATO's side. So, I believe I've kind of caught all of the, I guess you could say the roles, Kute 90s, you know, generalists. Royal Marines, while they may have Marines in the name, these are still 10-man squads. They got reduced a couple patches ago to just being 10-man squads instead of 15-man squads, which is kind of disappointing, and by kind of, I mean really disappointing. So yeah, that really sums it up pretty well for this guide. I hope you enjoyed it. If you found this useful, please hit that like button, and if you think that someone else could use this help, please mention it to them, please share it out to them. And for more Wargamer Dragon content and other strategy gaming content and gaming content, etc., subscribe to my channel. Anyways, this is RC0538 signing out. Hope you have a good day.